So, back with another recipe, and it's another brining recipe. Um, my boyfriend was like, "Oh, well, can you brine salmon? Because we both like salmon." And I was like, "Oh, probably." And I looked it up, and you sure can. You probably can brine any meat, I guess. But so that's what I'm gonna do, and of course, following the same standard of 1 tablespoon of salt per cup of water. Um, a little chunky salt. All right, 2, 3. I'm still gonna make 4 cups, although I think I won't need as much because there's a little less salmon than there was chicken, but it's a little under 1.5 pounds of salmon. I didn't want to go crazy because even though it was a little on sale, it's not cheap. So that, and then as before, I'm gonna put in my spices before the water. I'm gonna add some parsley, probably a good amount. I'm gonna take the stupid shaker cap off. I know parsley's not like, probably not like super flavorful, but I like the idea of parsley, if that makes sense. I don't know. And also it'll give it a little look, I guess. Oops. Sorry for the loud noise. Got pepper, but this is pepper without allspice in it. It's just regular black pepper. I always kind of go heavy on the pepper, but as I've said before and will say again, you measure seasonings with your heart. It's probably fine. Like I did before, I'm gonna season the actual salmon again before it goes in the oven. This is onion powder, and of course garlic powder. And I'm gonna mix it all up because I like to. I like the way the salt looks after. I thought about like mixing up some brining like mixes ahead of time just to keep, but I like to change things up so much I don't want to waste it by it just sitting there when I think of something else. So that's all my seasonings. So once again, I used 4 cups of warm water, or hot water if you want to, but it has to cool completely, like room temperature, before you put your meat, seafood, whatever in it, because the heat of the water will cook the meat. So we don't want to do that before we're ready to. So I'm just making sure the salt kind of gets stirred up, and I'm going to let this sit, let the herbs steep while the water cools, and then come back. All right, so my brine is done. I'm getting out my salmon. I'm just using these pre-cut, they call them selects, but these pre-cut pieces of salmon. It's about 4 of them. You want them to be roughly the same size, at least for my recipe, because I'm going to be baking them at the same time. Now, my seafood department at the place I go to, they always debone the salmon. Just like, make sure though that there aren't any bones, like little pin bones, because it's just not a fun surprise to bite into or find in your food. The way to check for that is you take the salmon, and I'm just holding it this way to show you what I'm doing, but you press along the sides, and if you feel any stabbies, then you'll know there's a bone in there. And if I encounter one, I'll show you how to remove it. This one is fine, so it's going into the bag. I'll show the bag, but it's the same setup that I used for my brine chicken in the first video. So once again, just checking. Salmon's so pretty. So this has already gotten the skin removed. You can really cook the salmon however you like once you brine it. I like to cook my salmon in the oven, so Anyways, no pin little bones on there, so into the bag. I have 4 pieces. This one's not as pretty, but it doesn't matter because this is going to be chopped up after it's done a bit. But no bones here. So sometimes in the process of them removing the bones, I think that maybe the meat kind of gets messed up, but it'll still taste good. So no bones. I did find a random piece of scale or something. I was in the seafood department. Things happen. But yeah, so I got lucky this time. Usually they do a good job of deboning, but every now and then. So if you do find a pin bone, you can either use your fingernails, like clean fingernails. I wash my hands before I touch food. Or you can take like a little like tweezer or something, but it's really small, fine, and you just pull it out, and you just, if you know, you don't want to eat that. So my salmon's in the bag. You can see one of them kind of split in half. It was a little bit like messed up looking, you know, like it had been broken a little bit. Again, for these purposes, for me, it's not going to matter. If it matters to you, just, you know, watch them when they select the salmon for you. You know, you can pick out the pieces you like. Yeah, so it's in a clean bowl, in a clean bag. This bag has never been used for chicken. As I said before, when I brine chicken, I have a dedicated bag that's just used for brine chicken. I use that one until I ultimately get rid of it and start using a different bag. So that bag is separate. This bag looks the same from the same set, but never been used. So to me, that's important. You don't want any accidental cross-contamination. Even though I thoroughly wash my stuff, it's just food safety, you know. So this is my brine. It's cooled down, room temperature. Lots of particles in it because I put all my seasonings, you know. But anyways, it's going in the bag. Alright, my brine and salmon are together. So when I was researching about this online, most things I saw said that salmon doesn't need to be brined for too long, I guess depending on like the size of the cuts and what you're doing with it. For our purposes, which is going to be another like meat and vegetable kind of salad like my chicken salad, but we're going to make a salmon salad, which I haven't made before, but basically the same thing. So this is only going to need to be in there for like 30 minutes maybe, is what they said online. I'm probably going to end up leaving it in there longer because it's only 3:30 now, but it'll be ready when I need it. And before that, I will chop up my veggies using different vegetables for this salad, just things I felt might pair differently. I don't know. So I'll come back when I get to that. Alright, so it's been, I guess, about an hour and a half at this point. The salmon is ready. You can always leave it in longer if you want to. Oh, sorry, I'm not pointing at it. Yeah, it's ready. So we're going to do the same thing with the chicken. I'm going to put the phone down so that I can transfer it to a plate. While you are getting the salmon ready, the oven should be preheating. I have my oven set to 375, which is a recommended, I guess, time. You got to pat it dry, just like the chicken was in my first video, if you didn't see it. And the reason, if you didn't see that, for this is supposedly by removing the excess moisture, you're allowing it to cook more correctly in like the mode that you're cooking it in, which for me, you know, in the oven. Rather than the fish sort of steaming within its own juices. So I've patted off the fish, and it's going to go onto a prepared pan, which I forgot to prepare, so I'll be right back. So I have the salmon patted down, and it's put onto the baking pan. I'm going to have 4 pieces. This should be big enough. Use whatever pan or pans, you know, that works for you. I'm going to be lightly oiling this up, this time with a vegetable oil. I don't want the taste of the olive oil necessarily in this, so yeah, I'm going to oil them up just like I did the chicken. I'm gonna season them up on both sides and then I'll be back. Right, and there we have the seasoned salmon. I used vegetable oil to coat. I used regular black peppercorns and this Mrs. Dash table blend. I don't recall if I've used it. It just seems like a general seasoning blend, and yeah, I like making my own seasoning mixes, but sometimes this is great too. Mrs. Dash doesn't have salt, which I like. I don't buy seasonings that have salt already in them, you know. So yeah, Mrs. Dash is great because you can go overboard and it won't be a sodium problem. Yep, this is gonna go in the oven. I'm gonna start it for like 20 minutes and then just see how it looks. Alright, so for this, I decided I was going to do something different. I'm going to make another, I'm going to make a salmon salad. But I'm going to use some radishes, watercress leaves, and the baby cucumber. I'm very interested in this idea. Hopefully it turns out well. Not usually like a big raw radish person. I do like to bake them like as if they were oven potatoes. Like, I might do that for another video. They're very good that way. So as usual, I'm just cutting off the ends. And then I want this to be in like small pieces, but I don't think I necessarily want them diced. So I'm going to take this time to sort of experiment. So I've cut it in half, and then I've cut this one in half lengthwise, and I'm gonna make some little strips maybe. Let's see how that goes. My knife is sharp. Be careful when handling knives. You can also use like a mandolin, or a grater if you wanted to. I don't think that one's thin enough. Okay, and so what I've done is sort of hand Julian the, and I have a feeling I'm going to cut these in half again, so they're a little longer. So, alright, so now I've got julienne and then cut in half. So anyways, you can cut your vegetables however you like, but I think that's going to work for me. So I'm going to keep that, and then I'll be back. The salmon is out. I took it out at closer to 18 minutes. I feel like it's sufficiently done. Some of these look messed up because that's how I got them. Yeah, they look good. They sound good. Got some radish cut up. Alright, and now we have the baby cucumbers. Some of these cucumbers in the brand new container are not good, but that's unfortunately the gamble with things that are packaged like that. If I could just buy how many I needed at one time, I would. But I'm just going to do the thing I did with the cucumbers in my chicken salad, which is cutting the cucumber into lengthwise quarters and then slicing thinly. Again, you can use whatever vegetables you want. Almost got my thumb. And you can cut them in whatever style you prefer. I just don't like big chunky raw vegetables most of the time. Alright. I did nick my thumbnail. Alright. I am also going to cut up a bit of red onion that I need to use up. Maybe take off this outer layer. It's a little rubbery. But the onions keep for a pretty good time if you put them in the fridge stored properly. I'm just going to cut off like a wedge first and see. And so I want to try to cut this uniformly, but also small. So I'm probably just going to, it's probably not going to be uniform. I'm probably just going to do like a rough dice just to sort of hopefully break it up. Sorry, my hands are blocking the cutting. It's hard to Should find a better place to set my phone, I guess, but yeah, and so I'm just gonna be, now that it's chopped up a bit here, I'm gonna go across it some more and just sort of this is where you want your knife to be sharp too, because if you do this and your knife isn't sharp, you're just gonna get like partially cut onions. They'll be like all sticking together in like a weird pattern or something. It's fine, but not really. Keeping my fingers out of the way. My hand is on top of my knife just for sort of balance. Alright. So that's actually, I cut that other part of the wedge off, but I think I don't want it. So I'm just going to put this little pile of onions right in there. And I'm debating on what to use to coat this salad because I didn't want to do olive oil, but I still have some vinaigrette left. I don't really want to use it. Let's see. So I'm also going to add watercress, these leaves, you know. I'm going to try to get rid of some of the stemmies. This is a very stemmy green, but I don't personally mind the stems, but some people do. And one of those people is my boyfriend. So since we're both eating it, just take the extra step of plucking a bit of that length of stem off. Doesn't really have to be precise. I'll dig out any loose stems as I go. All right, now that I've got it mostly, you know, stems off, I mean, I'm probably going to use more of this, but at the moment I just want to see what this looks like. So I'm going to do, I forget what they call it. There's like a technique where you roll everything, like all the leaves sort of together, which is not easy with these tiny leaves. You sort of roll them up and slice, and it sort of, I mean, it's julienning, but it's like called something else, I think. And I'm not doing it like perfectly either, but it makes these like shreds, which I feel like just go better than big, you know, even though these are small leaves, it breaks them up and makes it, spreads it better throughout the salad, and it just looks more attractive in my opinion. And once again, I'm going to attempt to show that technique I was talking about. You sort of roll up whatever leafy greens, herbs, whatever, into sort of a, oh, I realized I probably didn't show it well the first time either. So you sort of bunch them all up as much as you can. Wider leaf things you can roll easier. But you just sort of tuck them in. Right? And then you take the knife and you just make fine cuts. Fingers beware. You don't want to cut those off, but as you do it, it just shreds nicely. This is good for mint, you know, leafy things. Yeah, just make sort of like leafy confetti. All right. And so watercress has got sort of a peppery taste. And radish can be a bit peppery too, so I'm hoping this doesn't overwhelm. But moving on. Here's the shrimp, or I keep wanting to call it shrimp, the salmon. This looks beautiful. And I don't need a knife to cut this open, but I've already got it out, so it just flakes apart. This might be a little more done than I wanted, but, or at least it looks like it. But when you try a piece, even if it looks dry, like the brining, I wish I could feed this to people through the camera. Yeah, it's got a little salt to it, so you don't need to add salt when you're seasoning. But I'm going to be cutting this up. It doesn't really matter that it's flaking. It's going to flake some more when I stir it into the vegetables. So I got distracted after the last segment I recorded. My boyfriend came home and I was just doing stuff. And so yeah, I just ended up mixing it all together, and I added just a tiny bit of this pre-made Greek dressing that I already had. I couldn't decide on what I wanted to make, and I really only needed like maybe like 3 or 4 little squirts from the bottle, just enough to coat it. You can really do whatever you like. This turned out to be my absolute favorite way to prepare salmon. I'm probably going to do this again. I would recommend it to anyone. I do wish salmon were cheaper because I would probably make this all the time. But now I have this healthy way to enjoy salmon and some vegetables that I might not normally eat otherwise.